Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Ohio.
It's the end of a long road trip through the Central Division for the Tribe, and they are looking to end it in style with a series win over the Tigers. There are good signs on offense. Brandon Moss broke out Friday night. Michael Brantley has it rolling, and Jason Kipnis is getting involved at the top of the order. The pitching has been outstanding, and Carlos Carrasco faces Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers next on Sports Time Ohio. It's a cool, sunny Sunday in downtown Detroit, Michigan, where this afternoon the Tribe and the Tigers tangle in the finale of a three-game series here at Comerica Park. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. We've talked a lot about how well Miguel Cabrera hits the ball against the Cleveland Indians. Well, you take a look at Michael Brantley. He's put up equally impressive numbers against the Tigers.
Well, this series, Michael Brantley has been on fire. He has missed 6 games this year because of some back issues, but he's swinging the bat like he is in mid-season form. 3 hits on Friday night. He had 4 hits yesterday with a couple of doubles. He's back to his old self from last year. He's hitting with runners in scoring position. The one guy that's going to be promising for this offense if he can continue. You can see in his career in 82 games a .344 average and 10 3-hit games against the Detroit Tigers.
Terry Francona shaking up the lineup, trying to get the offense going. He's got Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot with the left-hander on the hill, and Michael Bourne drops to the number 9 spot. We'll see how that works out for the Tribe. If they're going to win today, they'll have to pitch well, because in their 6 wins, they've given up a total of just 8 runs, so that's been their formula.
Well, and Carlos Carrasco coming back, and you know, we didn't know we were going to get the last time out. He went up against the White Sox, but Carrasco came right back. He was very good, had a great changeup that night. The unfortunate thing, he only threw 60 pitches in his 5 innings of work. He had 8 strikeouts. He pitched very well, but he had a little tightness maybe in his arm. He came out of the ball game. Hopefully he can go back in there and with a chance to win the series. Carrasco will be matched up against Kyle Lobstein, the left-hander, who has pitched well against the Indians. He beat them early back in Cleveland, April 12th. And a left-hander, they're going to have to make adjustments again, because it seems like he always pitches against the Indians when we see him.
No, and they're going to need Carrasco to probably pitch a little deeper into the game than normal, because yesterday Trevor Bauer became ill before the game. TJ House had to step in a pinch, and they leaned on the bullpen for 6 innings in yesterday's game here against Detroit. We'll be back with today's first pitch between the Tribe and the Tigers coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. pleasant day here in the Motor City. A few clouds overhead, but generally not too shabby. Still a little bit on the cool side. Temperature going to struggle to get into the low 50s here today. It's the Indians and the Tigers wrapping up the 3-game series, and let's go down and join the third member of our team, Andre Knott.
Well, Matt, Michael Bourne will be in the 9 hole. It's the first time he won't be in the leadoff spot since June 28th of 2011. He takes pride in being a leadoff hitter, but he understands right now he's not doing his job well enough. He says he's in a funk. He said he came to spring training feeling so good about how he was hitting that he doesn't understand it right now, but he understands he's in the 9 hole, and he plans on getting back to the leadoff spot sooner than later, but he understands this is what's best for the team, and that's what Tito Francona said. He goes, look, my best lineup has Michael Bourne as our leadoff hitter, but right now what's best for the team and Michael Bourne is to put him lower in the lineup and get this offense going.
Yeah, Andre, I'd have to agree. You got to try something to shake it up, get this offense rolling.
Yeah, 3 for 23 against left-handed pitching this year, and they're facing a lefty today.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Terry Francona's Tribe, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis in that leadoff spot. He's hit in 4 straight games. Mike Aviles in the 2-hole. Then it's Michael Brantley, who's hit everything in sight lately. Carlos Santana batting cleanup. Ryan Rayburn back in the lineup. He'll DH and hit 5th. He's been mashing, especially against the left-handers. Brandon Moss is 6th. Then it's Lonnie Chisenhall, Roberto Perez, and Michael Bourne.
Our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher is Kyle Lobstein, who is making his 3rd start this year. Number 1 came against the Indians, where he got the win in Cleveland. It was an 8-5 win. He went 5 innings, 8 hits. He's coming off a start against the Yankees here in his last start, where he pitched 6 innings, gave up 3 hits and just 1 run. So in his career, he is 1-0 against the Tribe. This will be start number 4 against the Indians.
All right, Jason Kipnis going to step in and get us underway. And the first pitch of the afternoon is in there for a called strike. Lobstein lets it fly again, and Kipnis fouls this one off. Jason 5 for his last 18 during his 4-game streak. 3 out of 9 in the series. And he takes a called 3rd strike to start the game.
Take a look at the Tigers defense, brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield will be Cespedes in left, Davis is in center, J.D. Martinez in right, Castellanos at 3rd, Iglesias at short, Kinsler at 2nd, Cabrera is at 1st, McCann doing the catching.
The crew chief, Jim Joyce, calling the balls and strikes. The Michigan native had a very distinctive strike call. When he lets it go, you'll hear it. Mike Aviles takes, and it's 1-1. Just off the outside edge. Aviles has been a road warrior so far. He's 5 out of 11 in road contests at the plate. There's a little check swing and an easy play for Miguel Cabrera. 2 down. Our great clip of the game from yesterday. Michael Brantley with a 4-hit afternoon. Now he is locked in red hot right now, 7 for 8 in the series, batting .359. And the Indians are going to try to ride him as long as they can. Hope that some of the other guys get hot as well. I thought it was interesting yesterday, Rick. At one point, Brantley was at 3rd base, and Nick Castellanos went over and was just rubbing the sleeve of his jersey, trying to hope maybe some of that would rub off on him.
Well, you usually go to your teammates and do that. He should go to Cabrera, but, you know, after the series he had. But Michael is swinging it well. Back into the lineup on this road trip and has done a good job. And, you know, that's the one thing. If Michael gets hot, they'll end up maybe pitching around him a little bit and make Santana come up and beat him. He's always done well against the Tigers.
And he takes, it's a called strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes here in the first. Kyle Lobstein trying to set him down 1-2-3 to start the afternoon.
And not overpowering. Fastball, curveball, slider, change.
And Brantley, like Kipnis, takes a call third to end the first inning. Now Detroit coming to bat when we come back. The lineup he will face for Brad Ausmus and the Tigers is brought to you by Toyota. Rajai Davis leads it off. Then it's Ian Kinsler, followed by Miguel Cabrera. Victor Martinez, J.D. Martinez, and Yoenis Cespedes occupy the middle third. Then it's Nick Castellanos, who's hitting 13 straight against Cleveland. James McCann gets the catching duties today, and Jose Iglesias bats ninth.
And our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher is Carlos Carrasco. He's coming out, will be making his 4th start. Coming off one against the White Sox where he pitched very well. He had to see if he could get back in after getting hit in the jaw. That start before. He did go 5 innings. Only 60 pitches, though, and he was dealing. He had 8 strikeouts, didn't walk anybody. But with an opportunity, the Indians trying to win a series here.
And Carrasco's first pitch of the afternoon is a fastball strike. Carlos with 18 strikeouts and just 1 walk so far this year. A little bit off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You remember he had an outstanding changeup in his last start against the White Sox. It's almost like they had back-to-back days. Bauer pitched the day before. He had a good changeup, and Carrasco followed it up.
There's the changeup, and I don't know. Looked like it floated over the plate.
It was a pretty good pitch. Keep it right there. Salazar worked his off-speed pitches in, although he had a great fastball too on Friday.
Davis lines the fastball to right field. Down the line it goes. Moss will try to cut it off. He hit the sidewall on up. Davis going to go all the way to third. And he's in there safely with a leadoff triple.
That'll be the first triple for Davis this year and the 6th for the Tigers, and it's a carom off that wall down in right field. That's when Davis decided, I'm going for 3. Moss is going to go try and catch it. It just catches the corner and comes straight out. There's not much he could do. It just barely caught the tip there. And that enabled Davis to get from 2nd to 3rd base on that kick out. So a golden opportunity here for Detroit to get on the board first.
Brings up Ian Kinsler, 4 out of 6 in the series. The Indians will play the infield back. Kinsler takes pitch for a strike. Yesterday was a odd situation for Cleveland in that Trevor Bauer was starting. And Kinsler lines it into left field. An RBI single, and the Tigers will play from in front today. They lead it 1-0.
Kinsler picked down a breaking ball here out over the plate. Let's take a look at it. They're sitting down, and not that it was a bad pitch. He must have been looking for it because he went out there and did not try and do too much. This is a guy that used to try and pull everything. But boy, his approach early this year has been great. 14-game hitting streak against the Tribe.
It's going to bring up Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera walked 4 times yesterday, a career high, 3 intentionally. If he continues what he has done throughout his career, you'll probably see more of that this year. Carrasco deals, and Cabrera fouls it back. Trevor Bauer was scheduled to start yesterday's game for the Indians, but Bauer was trying to get through his warm-up routine when he just was overcome with illness. And so TJ House was pressed into action. The odd thing about that is that House had been in the bullpen the previous night on Friday night, sort of a just in case they need a long man kind of deal. And so he threw his bullpen session after the game at about 11 p.m. Friday night. Gets to the park Saturday figuring I'm not doing anything today. And then, oh, by the way, you're starting now. Yeah. So it was not an ideal situation for the Indians and for TJ in particular. But I thought it was interesting, Rick, after the game, Ian Kinsler was asked about it from the Tigers' perspective. You know, you're geared up to face a guy as Kinsler takes off and Cabrera lines a base hit in the left field. Kinsler's going to try for third. Brantley's throw close, but not in time. And now Detroit has runners at first and third and nobody out as they start the game with 3 consecutive hits.
Boy, Kinsler took off and Cabrera brings his hands in and just flicks it into left field. They started, and that ball was a 2-seamer inside. This guy could just flat out hit. And Kinsler going to run. Brantley makes it close. He gets his foot in time. And boy, the Tigers off to another quick start. They have one in. They have runners at the corners and still nobody out.
I thought you'd appreciate what Kinsler said, though, Rick, about, hey, all of a sudden, you know, you're geared up for Bauer, you're watching all the video and everything, and now 10 minutes before the game, Brad Ausmus comes out and tells him, hey, TJ House is now pitching.
Right.
Kinsler said, he goes, you know, when we were in Little League, high school, and college, we didn't know who was pitching. We didn't have scouting reports. We just went out and played. Yeah. So he said it really wasn't that big a deal for us. We've been doing this our whole life.
Right, and it should be. I mean, sure, you want to look at who's pitching against you that day. I can understand that, but when the bottom line gets there, it doesn't matter. See ball, hit ball.
Well, this guy's been seeing it and hitting it a little bit here of late. Victor Martinez off to a slow start by his standards. But yesterday when the Indians pitched around Cabrera, and I thought rightly so, Martinez lined a bases loaded 2-run single to right field his first time up, and then he blooped one into center field for an RBI his next time up.
Well, that's what you do. When they pitch around the guy in front of you, you take pride. You want to do damage. And, of course, Victor's always done damage to his former team. And it was no different yesterday.
Drives one high in the air, right center field. Moss camps under it. He'll make the catch. Kinsler will tag and come home to score. Detroit leads it 2-0. So Victor Martinez with his 9th run batted in on the year.
Okay, let's take a look at the Indians defense for you. Brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield, it's Brantley in left, Bourne in center, Moss over in right. Chisenhall at third, Aviles at short, Kipnis is at second, Santana at first with Perez doing the catching.
Here's J.D. Martinez. Just 1 for 8 so far in the series.
He's 3 for 10 in his career against Carrasco.
Now this is what the Tigers did to the Indians back in Cleveland when they swept the series. They jumped them early. They did it yesterday, and they were able to ride that to a win to snap a 4-game losing streak. And they jumped out in front here today now with a 2-spot in the first inning.
Yeah, that's what the Indians did, though, in the first inning on Friday night. They came out and got on the board first. They scored a couple of runs. And for Carrasco, in his career in this ballpark, a 1-3 record. His ERA is at a little above 9 in his 3 starts and 5 appearances here. So they came out of the chute early. Leadoff triples will do that.
Missed outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. J.D. Martinez, 5 homers, a dozen runs batted in already on the year. Also has 4 doubles. Swung on and missed. And Carrasco has his first strikeout. 2 down here in the first inning. Our window system's game time temperature is 53 degrees under just partly cloudy skies. The breeze really is negligible at this point. It's the best day we've had in a while, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels better today.
It's not that damp cold that we've had the last 4 or 5 days in a row. 1-2 out. Yoenis Cespedes the batter. And Carrasco with a fastball for strike 1. He checks, but Carrasco nails the outside corner to jump ahead 0-2. Miguel Cabrera with just his 2nd hit in the series. But he helps Detroit jump out to the early 2-0 lead. Tigers really felt like yesterday was an important win because of how they won it. You know, they just kind of went out and won the way you're supposed to win. You get a couple of clutch hits, you play good defense, you pitch well.
They played good defense. They had 5 stolen bases and an 0-2 base hit right there by Cespedes.
Boy, a seeing-eye single if there ever was one, right between Chisenhall and Aviles, who were converging, but neither one could quite get to it. 4th hit in the inning.
Looked like a hard changeup to me. He kept down. Cespedes is a pretty decent off-speed hitter. An 0-2 count. Maybe had a little too much of the plate, but he finds the hole between short and third. That's already the 4th hit in the first inning here. It keeps the inning alive. And out comes Mickey Callaway to talk to Carlos Carrasco.
Keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians will need their right-handed batters to deliver against the southpaw throwing Kyle Lobstein. And a matchup we'll watch today is Carrasco against Miguel Cabrera. Miguel got a single here off of Carrasco in the first. He's at second base with 2 down. And Nick Castellanos will be the batter. Castellanos 1 hit in the series, and that left the yard. The Tigers' only run on Friday night. play to the right. 0-2. You know, T.J. House, we talked about it, pressed into duty yesterday. For everything that he had to deal with, he didn't pitch all that badly. They didn't exactly tattoo him. He had some walk issues, but a lot of that's just you're trying to be careful. You can't pitch in the middle of the plate, and you're trying to make that perfect pitch. And, you know, he ended up walking some guys, and that hurt him. But what did hurt him more than anything was he had to go deep in innings. And he was at 60 pitches. Well, by the third inning.
I'll guarantee you, starting that game on his mindset, coming to the ballpark not expecting to do anything and having to go out there and pitch in a meaningful game, that hurt him, I think, probably more than anything in his own mind.
Yeah, and he had thrown a 40-pitch bullpen.
That's what I mean.
He had 11 p.m. Friday night.
Post-game show, and he's out there getting loose. And we looked out there and said, what's going on? So not the best of days for TJ, but you know what? He stepped up for the ball club. I mean, he did what he had to do.
2 on, 2 out, 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss. He strikes him out to get out of the inning. So the Tigers get a couple of runs on 4 hits here in the opening frame. They leave 2 stranded. 2-0 Tigers after 1.
At bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Just download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Second inning, 4, 5, and 6 hitters for Cleveland. Carlos Santana to lead it off. Santana is one of those right-handed bats that the Indians will need today to be successful against Lobstein. He's batting .304 from this side of the plate.
See if they can get an answer or a response here after that quick 2-run first inning by the Tigers. Lobstein comes out throwing 2 changeups on the first 2 pitches. And that's something we've talked about before. How do you throw a changeup the first pitch when you know they have nothing to show for it? But there you go, another 0-2 base hit by a hitter.
Santana bangs it right back up the middle, and the Indians get their leadoff man aboard here in the second.
I think this is the 3rd straight changeup that he threw, but that one had way too much of the plate, and Santana takes advantage of it. The Indians get their first hit.
You know, Brad Ausmus, talking about Kyle Lobstein, said, if you're successful, I wouldn't switch what I'm doing. He said, you don't change if it works. Make them force you to change.
Well, that's what this game's about. It's a game of adjustments. He's had success. against the Indians. So until the Indians hitters prove that they're going to go up there and do something differently, then there's no reason for him to change if he's having success.
Ryan Rayburn not convinced. But Jim Joyce raising the right hand to put him in an 0-2 hole. Rayburn in his last 6 games is 8 for 15 at the plate. And he got a piece of that to stay alive. Lobstein, obviously a guy that can frustrate hitters, because once he gets ahead, as he is with Rayburn, he's going to really force you as a hitter, I think, to be patient. And you're going to have to probably spoil some close pitches as well. Rayburn lining it to right. It's a fair ball. Down into the corner it goes. Santana on his way to third. He'll be waved home. Rayburn round second. He's headed for third. He better hurry. Here's the throw. He is safe. They call him out.
No, I think he's safe. They may look at that.
Might get a challenge here. He's called out on the field. Santana scoring on the play, and the Indians respond to the Tigers by scoring a run. But this is a huge turn of events right here, because if he's safe, you got a runner at third, the tying run with nobody out. Let's take another look here. Terry Francona's on the top step of the dugout. He's waiting to get a confirmation.
I think he got the arm in. I really do. From my angle, it looked like it. Here he come.
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
And he didn't tag him on the hip. I think Terry's going to come out and challenge. He wants to look at it, and I agree with that call. Look at it. It's up on the hip. And it looked like Rayburn got the arm in. That was another 0-2 hit. The umpire's behind the play. He gets the ball. Let's get a look. He still hasn't tagged him, still hasn't tagged him, still hasn't tagged him, and the hand gets on the base by the time he's tagged. Now he's got it. I think he's going to.
Here's my question. Is that going to be conclusive enough to overturn it?
This angle might not be. It was tough to see when exactly he tagged it with the third baseman in the way from that angle, but they may have other angles. From my angle, watching him come in, it looked like there was daylight there, and he might have been safe. So this may take a little while. I thought he was safe. Here you go. Let's look at it. Here we come. Where's the tag? Boy, that's a tough look, too, because you get blocked out any way you look at it.
I think the problem you're going to have here is the old, well, is there clear evidence to overturn it?
Well, you see where the umpire's sitting. He's sitting behind him. There's the hand on the base. Now, is the glove on Rayburn? It's hard to tell. Hard to tell. That's going to be awfully close. I like the idea. He went to third base, though. They came back. He had Rayburn down the count 0-2, and he put a really pretty swing on the baseball going the other way. He will at least have a double, and he leads the team in that department. He's hoping he has his first triple, and it's all going to come down to the.
I think it's good news for the Indians that it's taken this long, because that means at the replay command center in New York, they're really taking a look at this. They may have a better angle than what we can show you here.
Right. That's true. But, I mean, they've got to look close. That tells you how close that play was. You see, he's looking for help from his third base coach instead of making his decision. But sometimes you need to do that, and he tried to kick it in gear. You know, when you look at that one, he is out. There's inconclusive, so call stands. Rayburn will get the double and RBI, and he'll be thrown out at third base.
So basically what we just told you, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. So one out now. Brandon Moss to the plate. Indians down a run. Boy, that is a huge turn, though.
Well,
that stayed in front of the plate, didn't it? Nope. came back on the dish, and it's a foul ball.
It didn't take him long to come back and respond. They put one on the board at least, and it was a bang play at third base.
And a big curveball drops over the outside corner for a strike.
Third straight hitter. He's had 0-2. See if he throws a ball here one time.
Now this time he threw it in the dirt. Moss wouldn't chase after it.
This is the sixth hitter he has faced, and he's had 4 of them 0-2.
And that big curveball got him. Third strikeout for Lobstein, 2 down in the inning.
There's the curveball. Really slow, takes something off, moves into away. It's his 3rd strikeout. Lobstein, in a start last year against the Indians, ended up having 10 strikeouts September 2nd of last year in 5 1/3 innings.
He's coming off a good outing against New York. Went 6 innings, gave up just 1 run to the Yankees. (2-0). Lonnie with a liner to left. And Cespedes makes the catch. Indians respond with a run in the second. They trail 2-1. Ryan Rayburn talking with Terry Francona possibly about what was going through his mind as he tried for a triple. But
well, we saw him looking at third base coach Mike Sauerball, but his first directive is to get that guy scoring from home in Santana, so he's going to be down the line. You have to make your decision as a base runner on your own in that situation, I would think. Don't depend on him. You see it down in the corner, you kick it in gear. He slowed down a little bit looking for that sign. Go ahead and be your own base running coach.
James McCann leading off for Detroit. And the Tigers catcher today grounds one to short. Aviles can't come up with it. And McCann is aboard.
Got him on the wrist. Got the glove off. That'll go as an error. The Indians had a couple of them yesterday. And this ball is hit hard right at Aviles, but that ball comes up, looked like it caught him on the wrist, and he decides not to throw it.
So Detroit gets their leadoff man aboard and brings up Jose Iglesias. And a line drive to center field, and Carrasco really went to the ground quickly.
Talk about getting low bridged right there. You would think he's probably still has a few issues, and the ball's coming straight back up the middle. He had to get down in a hurry. Iglesias didn't waste any time, jumped on the first pitch. So now after the error, you get the base hit. Tigers back in business. You see him get out of the way. Now you get back up to the top of the lineup.
Rajay Davis tripled and scored in the first. Indians pitch in at the corners. Davis taking all the way. Ball one.
Yeah, they don't. They're way early in the game to bunt in this situation, especially when he led off the game with a triple. If he does, he'll do it on his own.
(2-0).
This is where, you know, when you have an offense like the Tigers, you can go for the knockout punch early. They already scored 2 in the first. An inning set up here in the second.
To third, Chisnall steps on the bag, goes to second. They get 2 and very close at first, but Davis beats it out.
That?
A near triple play turned by the Tribe.
And that's a guy that can flat out run. That's the only reason why they didn't turn a triple play. You got somebody else running, and it could very easily could have been a triple play. You go 5-4 with the attempted 3, and Davis just does beat it out. Good play. Getting that ball from Chisnall to Kipnis back over to Santana, and he just beats it by a step.
Remember, I think it was earlier on this road trip, might have been in Minnesota, but we had a play in a ball game similar to that one where Lonnie, on the ground ball, didn't go to the bag to get the out. He tried to go to second and turn and don't play that way, and it didn't work out for the Indians.
Right. That's it. Yeah, you're right, man. I remember that play very well.
Almost like he got this time. He said, "I'm going to the bag, get that first out for sure."
It was in Chicago. He had a chance to go over to third base. He may be off and running in this situation, though, given the opportunity. Davis.
I'll be stunned if he isn't.
Yeah. You know, he leads the league. He has 6 stolen bases, and I'm sure a little frustration. Watch Chisnall. He knew exactly what he was going to do before the ball even gets there. When it's hit.
That's the key to playing defense.
Yeah, it sure is. You know what you're going to do before you get it. You just react.
Could play it first, and it was very close. I think Gibson was gearing up to throw him out.
I don't know if Santana tagged him. You'd have to see.
And that might have been why he ended up giving the safe call. Looked like he was gearing up to give him the thumb.
Yeah, he was. He had him. The ball beat him. And as a base, he never tagged him. But as a base stealer, you go to the backside of the bag, exactly what Davis did right there. You lead off and you hit the backside of the bag. It's tougher for that first baseman to come back and tag you, especially a right-handed first baseman. It's natural for the left-hander to just sweep the tag. But as a right-hander, you got to go to the backhand side and you got to reach a little bit longer.
Kinsler fouling it straight back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, whether you're going back to the bag at first or yesterday, Jason Kipnis, when he stole second base, same deal. He went to the outside part of the bag, and that was the difference between him being safe and out. The very close play.
May not seem like a lot, but when you're talking about a couple of inches or 6 inches, it means a lot.
Davis takes off, and Kinsler fouls it over into the Detroit dugout. Stat of the game is brought to you by Buick. For Indians starting pitchers, after the Tribe has scored to either take the lead, tie the game, or close to within 1, they've given up just 2 earned runs to this point in the season. And so for Carrasco, he's trying to make sure he keeps in line with that stat. Didn't look like the inning was going to start out well for him, though, after the error and then the base hit, 2 on, nobody out. But he gets the double play ball, and now he has Kinsler down on the
triple play.
Yeah.
How often do you see something like that? A 5-4-3 triple play on the ground. Rare.
Yeah, that's the hardest one to turn, I think.
Anybody but that guy running, they had one.
Sometimes you see triple plays and they get turned sort of in bizarre fashion, maybe when runners take off.
We had one with the bunt play. Remember Santana catching the ball?
Was that last year in LA?
A couple years ago. Oh, we had one from Brantley last year in LA.
Yeah.
On the tag play, and then they threw home, and then Puig went from first to second.
But we had to go and review it to make sure to actually get the triple play.
And then they reviewed the call at home plate.
Yeah. That was a strange one. Kinsler's putting up a pretty good at bat here, though, for being down on the count. Carrasco's thrown a ton of strikes. 26 out of 33 have been strikes. Davis not running, and Kinsler fouls another one off.
Well, the first time he got a base hit off Carrasco when he left him something out over the plate that was off speed. And he drilled it into left field, so it looks like Carlos trying to stay inside with him here.
Might still be trying to find the feel on that changeup, too.
Holding the ball, that's what you do with base stealers and step off. Look at Davis. He hasn't moved. He's in position like in the starting blocks.
Yeah, he is.
He hasn't moved, so he's staying set. He wants to run. Good time for a fastball in. It was up. The 1-2 count now, you used to say, well, it's going to be a breaking ball. You figure it back in the day. Now they throw fastballs in when you get breaking ball counts. 1-2. So it's also a good pitch for a catcher to throw on if you go with the fastball. He may be running here. 2-2 count. Figure breaking ball coming.
Broken bat, backhanded by Aviles, and he throws him out to end the inning. So good defense ends up getting the Indians out of the inning.
On the Toronto Blue Jays. That'll take place on Friday, May 1st, and you can save on tickets. Actually, it's a 4-game series, Thursday through Sunday. Lower box or lower reserve tickets for that game by April 27th. Go out, buy. You'll save 25%. Just go to Indians.com.
Roberto Perez will lead off here in the third for Cleveland. Tribe trailing it 2-1. Kyle Lopstein missing with the first two here, and he falls behind. Been pitching ahead for the most part today. He's missed 3 in a row now.
Rarity, because he started out the game just throwing strikes, pounding the strike zone. 4 out of the first 6 were down 0-2.
And that one is called strike 3-1 now for Perez. Looking for his first hit of the year against the left-handed pitcher. And that's ball 4. So second inning in a row, the Indians get their leadoff man aboard. Injury report is brought to you by the injury lawyers at L&L. Trevor Bauer day to day now. They're hoping that Bauer can go on Tuesday, but I think they're going to still have to wait and see how he feels today and maybe even check again tomorrow. Boy, Shane Victorino can't stay on the field, it seems like last few years.
No, he hasn't. Cardinals losing Wainwright yesterday. He was hitting. Just hit a little pop-up. Tried to come out of the box, and it looks like he has some Achilles problems. Don't know how long.
Michael Bourne taking, low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bourne moved out of the leadoff spot down to the 9 hole today. One ball, 1 strike. And it's in tight. I think for the most part, major league hitters, and there's always exceptions, but most major league hitters, it's hard to tell if you just look at them in the dugout if they're going well or they're in a slump. But Michael Bourne just seems to be really wearing his emotions here of late. A very frustrated hitter at the plate. They'll beat it out here as the Tigers nearly turn a double play.
They may be coming to the top step, looking quickly for a review. That was close at first. Bourne rolled over on this ball to second. Gets it over to Iglesias, who's very quick and has a good arm at short. Tough to tell from that angle, but I don't see anything. He seems to be staying put down in the dugout.
Bourne's at first with 1 away now for Jason Kipnis. Andre, you're down in the clubhouse, and I know Michael Bourne's got a great personality. He's always upbeat, but he just looks visibly frustrated lately.
And he admitted that a little bit this morning. He says, look, the one thing that's frustrating more than anything else is he's healthy. He's about as healthy as he's been as a Cleveland Indian. His body feels good. So he just doesn't understand it. He goes, I'm in a funk, and I got to get out of it sooner than later.
Yeah, you got to swing your way out of it. You got to play. You go through this game, you hit, times like this where you go up there, you have no clue. But you got to find out. Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before you can get out of it. And hopefully he's there. Getting out of that leadoff spot may motivate him a little bit.
Well, I think that's human nature. When something's not working, you got to change it up. And maybe this is a drastic move, but hey.
No, I don't think it's drastic, because when you're struggling to score runs, you got to do it. Usually Terry's a very patient manager, and he gives the guys the ultimate break. You remember he went with Santana last year, hitting the number 4 hole when he was scuffling, until he finally moved him out of there. And, eventually he moved him back in when he got rolling again. Mm-hmm. This could be the same thing for Bourne. He says, hey, something has to be done. Let's go. Nothing wrong with it.
1-0 count for Kipnis as Bourne draws yet another throw. up and in. And out goes McCann. I mean, we talked about it. Lobstein's been ahead almost all day long, but then he fell behind Roberto Perez 3-0 and ended up walking him. And now he's 2-0 to Kipnis, probably because he's paying more attention to Michael Bourne than he is to Kipnis.
It actually started back in that second inning for the third out. Chisenhall had the count in his favor until he flew out to left field. Now he's having a tough time finding the strike zone.
Kipnis drives one to center field, and a sliding catch made by Davis. Boy, hit it hard. Davis didn't get a great jump on the ball.
No, but he can outrun mistakes. And I'll tell you, this is a ballpark. This ball just stayed up. Kipnis does everything he can, hits it right on the nose, and in comes Davis to swoop in and make a sliding catch. You need speed to play this outfield, to play center field here. He has it. He makes a nice play. He retires Kipnis. That's out number 2.
Mike Aviles was retired on a check swing bouncer to first in his initial at bat. Takes lone away ball 1.
You know, and that's the frustrating thing too, when your team's struggling to score runs and you hit a ball on the nose thinking you're going to get a base hit, and there's some nice defense played on you. It's breaks of the game. They didn't catch one there. But boy, you've got to keep battling and keep swinging and get your way out of it. That's one of the frustrating things.
Bourne takes off, got a great jump, and Aviles reaching for a ball on a 1-0 count, just hits a weak tapper back to the mound. So the inning is over. It's 2-1 Detroit. Middle of the third. Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Leading off here in the bottom of the third for Detroit. Line to single to left his first time up. Now the 1-1. Right back up the middle. He's got another hit. 2 for 2, and the Tigers have had their leadoff man aboard every inning now.
Brought the hands in his first at bat and got a base hit. He got a fastball up and out over the plate that he just stayed on up the middle. And just rolls it into center field. Another hit for the Tigers. 2 for Cabrera today. They have 6.
Up comes Victor Martinez. Playing on a hobbled left knee. So it really bothers him from this side of the plate. Swinging from the right side of the plate doesn't seem to be as bad for him, but from this side, because it's the back leg, one you have to push off of, drive off of, swings really almost all upper body. So, you know, he's going to, I think it's going to definitely affect his power. He hit 32 home runs last year. I don't think the Tigers will be counting on him for much of that, but he can still get the bat to the ball. And like yesterday, he's got RBI situations. He can still drive him in with base hits.
Yeah, he did that from the right side of the plate yesterday, which should be a little easier for him to swing, you would think, not hitting off that back leg.
It's almost like you have to make do with what you have, and not maybe everybody can do that, because, you know, if I don't have my legs, I'm not the same hitter, maybe you get frustrated and you just get down on yourself. Whereas I think Victor's the kind of guy who's like, okay, I'll just adjust and I'll do what I can do.
Well, he's not going to get anything as far as running goes, because when you watch him hit, he just hobbles down the line. It may take him 7 or 8 seconds to get to first base.
Well, remember, we saw Miguel Cabrera do the same thing a couple of years ago.
Last year. With the ankle problem.
Was that last year?
Yeah.
Seems like
the hernia the year before that.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, the sports hernia before that, he had issues. There's some groin problems. And yeah, the last 2 years he's been hobbled, and boy, it certainly hasn't harmed him.
2-1 count. Foul right back to the screen. Carrasco looking for a double play ball here. And that's the other thing with both Martinez and Cabrera, because of their clear lack of speed, they will hit into a lot of double plays, because there's going to be guys on base, it seems like, a lot too.
Well, you just got to get them to hit it at one of your defenders.
Tribe almost turned a triple play in the second inning. He got the shift on, 3 on the right side. And he just beats the shift with a base hit to left.
That's how good they are.
Cabrera's going to go all the way to third. And Brantley keeps the double play in order as Martinez is held to a long single.
That's the right play. Throw it to second base. Keep the double play in order. Don't give him a big inning. But I'll tell you what, watch this pitch and watch this swing, and that's just unbelievable. Changeup down and away, and that's the only thing he could do with it. He just like pushes it that way. That looked like a David Murphy swing from last year. He hits a great pitch and he just gives in. He says, I'm going to put it in play. I'm not going to strike out. He didn't do it. They have runners at the corners again. Boy, I don't understand why more hitters don't try that approach to get the bat to the ball and give in. They had 3 on the right side.
Well, especially with the shifts now.
Well, no kidding.
A lot of traffic for Carrasco here in the early going. He's trying to pitch out of yet another jam. Our player profile today brought to you by Levin Furniture on J.D. Martinez. Last year, Martinez hit 8 home runs in the 9th inning or later. How's that for clutch?
Yeah, he had a special season for him last year.
Ground ball double play style. Aviles to Kipnis on to Santana. They turn 2, but the Tigers do get a run home and they lead 3-1.
Well, that's why when you're Michael Brantley, that last play, you just keep the double play in order. And you always look at the Wendy's slow motion camera on that swing by Victor Martinez. He was just slapping it the other way. It's almost like he knew it was coming. It's an excellent pitch, but even a better swing to just put in play, and in turn that gets him a run because Cabrera was able to get to third base.
Yoenis Cespedes now with a base hit his first time up.
'21st double play that the Tigers have hit into this year.
That's one of those stats where I think at times it can be maybe a little misleading. For example, you look at a defense and say, boy, they've turned a lot of double plays. Well, that's because they've had a lot of base runners, which isn't necessarily a good thing. They get out of the inning here, but not before the Tigers get another one home. They lead it 3-1. Your profile today. Michael Brantley, 39 career games here at Comerica Park. He's a .336 hitter with 20 runs batted in, 10 doubles.
Been 7 for 9 in this series.
Michael's had some success on a number of different road parks. I didn't realize this, but at the Rogers Center in Toronto,
oh gosh,
he's batting .500.
Yes, he's always gone up north, and
21 for 42 in his career there. Up the middle, Kinsler with a backhanded play throws him out. One down. Michael's also hitting .378 lifetime at Fenway Park in Boston. .351 career hitter at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City.
Sound like you want to keep him on the road.
Well, let's see. His lifetime numbers at Progressive Field aren't too shabby either. 295 there.
Well, we'll be heading back home tomorrow after a 9-game, 10-day trip. We've played the fewest amount of home games of any ball club in the league.
just off the outside corner. And no surprise, here's Carlos Santana with a 3-0 count. He seems to get in more 3-0 counts, or he'll be 0-2 and then work back to full.
Yeah. Always seems to go deep into a count one way or another.
Breaking ball up high. Second walk issued by Lobstein. 1 on, 1 out. Time for our AT&T Uverse Rewind. Ryan Rayburn's previous at-bat, he roped an 0-2 pitch into the right field corner. Just a slight hesitation going around the bag at second, and he's called out at third. Replay was inconclusive. The call stands was the ruling after they reviewed it. Terry Francona challenged the play. And now Ryan Rayburn yanks a base hit in the left.
He remains hot.
That's 10 hits in his last 17 at bats.
I think, well, Ryan last year a lot of times would foul balls off, but I'll tell you what, when he goes down the right field line one at bat and he's pulling it on the next, you know he's seeing the ball well.
Yeah, Andre down in the Indians dugout, he is locked in, huh?
The other thing that the team has talked about is that his legs are healthy this year. And Terry Francona told him, look, when you were confident 2 years ago, you were one of the most important hitters on our team. Stick with that confidence. And he's had that since spring training, and it's helping this offense out big right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can ever underestimate, especially in baseball, because it's the daily grind, how important it is to be healthy. And last year, Rayburn got nicked up in spring training and never really got healthy. That one gets through. Coming around third, Santana will score. Going to third is Ryan Rayburn. Brandon Moss with a little seeing eye single.
I think they catch a break right there. Kinsler probably should have had that ball at least to get one out. And he would have been able to keep Santana at third base. It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. They catch a break. Kinsler going to his left. And he never catches the ball. What he does, it goes off his leather. It deadens it up where Santana comes around to score. And you can see Rayburn go to third base. Here's the hop coming up on him. Not an easy hop, not a play, but I guarantee you he probably feels he should have made it. Goes a base hit and an RBI for Moss.
3 straight have reached for the Indians. Now Lottie Chisenhall, who flied to left his first time up. It's a 1-run game. Drive down 3-2. Little number up the third base line. It's going to stay foul.
I want to send along our birthday wishes today. Very happy birthday to Patricia Karras, turning 85 from Elyria. Happy birthday.
Lonnie Chisenhall. He's held his own this year against left-handers. 5 for 20. Big spot here, though, for him.
Yeah, just 3 for 16 with the runners on base, and they're going to come home and get him in the rundown.
Rayburn going back to third, and it's a close play. And for the second time today, Ryan Rayburn is out at third on a bang-bang play. Mike Sarbaugh coming down the line, and he's gesturing to Terry Francona. You might want to ask him to take a look at this.
Well, unless it was a late throw and he gets it in, this time, I mean, from our angle, he looked out. We thought the last time. You're right.
Oh, you know what? Castellanos' foot was in the way. Rayburn, I don't think he ever got his hand back to the bag anyway. See, watch his right hand got. I don't think he got spiked. I'll be curious to see how he's feeling. It looks like he's all right. That right hand went right into the shoe. You see Brad Mills on the phone talking, I would assume, with Greg Langban in the Indians clubhouse, who looks at all the video replays. But the Indians, Terry Francona challenged in the second inning, lost that challenge, so he's out of challenges. So now he can ask the umpires to take a look at it, but he can't command them to challenge anything. Kind of leave it up to the umpire's discretion at that point. But one last look. Watch the right hand. I mean, right into the spikes of Castellanos.
Yeah, it goes nowhere.
He's definitely taking a look at his digits, but appears to be all right. Tying run at second base now as Perez pops it up. McCann over to the Tribe dugout, makes the catch. And the Tigers get out of the jam. Indians get a run back, 3-2, Detroit. Baseball season is back, and so is MLB Whip Around. Tune in every weeknight for highlights, instant analysis, and live look-ins from around the league. The MLB Whip Around hits the air at 7 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Bottom of the fourth, bottom third of the Tigers' order due. Nick Castellanos to lead it off. Carrasco first pitch off speed. That was a slider maybe. Castellanos, who struck out his first time up. And he goes sinker down and in, but off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Castellanos seeing a little bit of everything in this at bat.
I'm going to chase a changeup down and away. Good pitch for Carrasco.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Ran that fastball back over the heart of the plate. He was shooting for the outside corner, but a little bit of run to it. The Castellanos just fouling it out of play. Good slider, but Castellanos wouldn't bite. Full count. He wouldn't bite the last time. Let's see if he does this time. Yes, he does.
A little different 3-2. You want to protect. You end up with swinging at a lot of bad pitches.
I was thinking it, Rick, that if you're Carrasco and Perez, he didn't offer at the 2-2 slider, which tells you he's sitting on a fastball. So you don't want to come back and throw a fastball thinking if he's sitting on one. So you just try to make a little better pitch with the slider. As you said, he's kind of in a defensive mode.
Yeah, they want to protect. That's our Circle K strikeout by Carrasco, his third of the afternoon. Hitters have a tendency that you're going to throw a strike no matter what. They think that, you know, and instead of being patient, they want to hit that. They think they're going to get a fastball. A lot of times they'll chase breaking balls out of the strike zone.
James McCann fouls one out of play.
I think a lot of times pitchers realize that the hitters are going to be aggressive, and they get themselves out a lot.
Key point. Yesterday, late in the game, 8th inning, Tribe down 3, 2 on, 1 out. Brandon Moss is at the plate, and Alex Avila said they had, I believe it was Gorzelani was in the game pitching.
Right, left-hander.
He went to the mound and they talked about it, and Avila said, you know, sometimes Moss is a guess hitter. So let's don't give him a fastball here. Let's go off speed. He got him to bang it into a double play.
Well, yeah, because the night before he hit that home run on the first pitch.
Bounce to third, and Chisenhall throws out McCann, 2 down.
Well, KeyBank's kids tickets start at just $10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. And kids tickets are located in the new family deck out at Progressive Field. So log on to Indians.com.
Here is Jose Iglesias, base hit his first time up. Spins out of the way. Now the 2-0. Over the outside corner, tempting pitch. Boy, Iglesias off to a fantastic start batting. .393 after his single in the second inning.
Yes, he is.
What a luxury. Have your 9-hitter.
Well,
second in the league, I think, in batting average.
He knows he's going to get something to hit. You know, with the top of their lineup, the way they're going, they can't walk him. You have to be aggressive. He jumped on a Carrasco fastball early. That's a great spot to hit in for him in this lineup. Yes, he did.
They appeal, and the first base umpire, Greg Gibson, punches him out to end the inning. Tigers go 1-2-3 for the first time this afternoon. Carrasco has fanned 4, but the Tigers lead it 3-2. your Northern Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. 3-2 Detroit as we go to the 5th inning. Michael Bourne going to lead it off for the Tribe. And Bourne takes ball 1. Tried to bunt his way on, but came up empty on the jab attempt. Cuts and misses. Rick, are you seeing anything with Bourne's swing or what he's doing offensively that could explain
he may
his
be
blows?
a little more upright, and I remember a little more bat wiggle last year. So sort of still, and he's never getting it loaded.
He's out looking here. That's the 4th strikeout for Lobstein. 1 down in the 5th.
Three out of the 4 strikeouts for Lobstein have been called.
Kipnis trying to find the hole, and a diving stop by Kinsler from the outfield grass. He throws him out.
Well, that's 2 today that Kip has been robbed on. 1 in center field in his last at bat. Now Kinsler makes the dive and makes this play. He couldn't last inning on Moss's ball that got underneath his glove, but he dives, makes the play, and retires Jason Kipnis. That is a good play from his knee.
Well, 2 down now for Mike Aviles. He's 0 for 2. But here again is Kyle Lobstein just kind of bobbing and weaving his way through this game. Indians have scored twice on 4 hits. The 0-2. There is a very fine line, though, sometimes between winning and losing. And right now, that fine line are 2 bang-bang plays at third base in which Ryan Rayburn was involved in both. He was called out both times. If he's safe on both of those plays, it's going to be a completely different game. Aviles pops it up center field. Davis is there. Indians go 1-2-3. Middle of the 5th, 3-2 Detroit.
at the new two-story bar with our $13 district ticket. It is presented by Sports Time Ohio, and the bar is the best place in town to grab a cold one. And with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Go to Indians.com.
Carlos Carrasco has retired 5 in a row. Top of the order here in the bottom of the 5th. Rajai Davis started the game with a triple as the Tigers jumped on Carrasco for 2 in the first.
Yes.
Full plate umpire Jim Joyce said he went around, and the count is 0-2.
Almost got Davis into hitting into a triple play back in the second inning when the Tigers were threatening again. Boy, a one-hopper right to Chisnell. He went from third to second, and the relay to first just did. Davis just got his foot down in time. It was awfully close.
Blown away. Davis not biting. And the count even at 2-2. Hit him.
Yeah, it did.
Ran it inside on the 2-2 pitch. Nailed him on the elbow.
Well, he went with a breaking ball away, and he didn't bite, so he figures I got to go back to the inside part of the plate. Nothing wrong with that. Just got a little in too far. But now you'll have a base stealing threat on first to start the inning. See Carrasco trying to come back inside. He runs a two-seamer in, and looks like he's got padding on that elbow anyway. You know, it would hurt a lot more if he didn't. Yeah, there's the padding. You're right. But look, was that the hand?
Rick, it looked like it got him on the forearm and then grazed the knuckles.
Okay.
Got the fingers, yeah. And he's got, might have some issues anywhere because it looks like he's wearing an oven mitt on that left hand. When
yeah, it's the up glove. He wants to keep his hand warm so he can grab the pan out of the oven. I guess that's so you don't jam your fingers stealing second base when you go in head first. He's definitely a base stealer.
Kinsler checked. They appeal. He did not go, says Greg Gibson.
He ran on the 1-1 pitch last time. Kinsler took a hack and fouled it off.
He's running here and a base hit in the left field.
Boy, these guys are good, boy. With the bats, they start the runner, and Michael, there you go. Nothing you could do.
Second time today.
Yeah. Cabrera did it back in the first with Kinsler running, and now with Davis running, you get a base hit. You put the ball on the ground. You know, and this to me is a run and hit more than it is a hit and run. That's the second straight time that Davis ran in a 1-1 count. This time Kinsler puts it in play, and you can't get him at third base, and again the pressure applied.
Let's bring in Andre. This is a much different Tigers team than the one we've seen in the past where they just kind of pound you into submission. Now they've got speed to go along with the Thunder.
Yes, they're a little bit more athletic and they're a little bit faster than they've been in the past. And yesterday they stole 5 bases. They lead the league with 19 steals. And you're right, Matt. A lot of people look at this team and we think about the guys in the middle of the lineup. They're a little bit different now, and they're going to score runs in different ways.
Well, the thing of it is those table setters make it a lot easier for the big boys. If you can control the guys that are hitting in front of Cabrera Martinez duo, then you're okay because you can face them with nobody on. But these guys apply the pressure. Well, Davis and Kinsler scored in the first. Cabrera scored in the third. But they set the table back in the second.
You've got Davis leading off, who after that triple he had in the first inning and then bounced into a fielder's choice in the second, so he's now hitting .308. and he's splitting time with Gose, who's hitting 333. Then you've got Kinsler, who's now hitting over 300. So I mean, their guys are getting on base, and they are creating a lot of trouble for opposing pitchers.
Well, they just keep the pressure on you. They force you out of the stretch. You go deep into the counts. They foul off pitches. And now when you have guys that can run and really make you rush your delivery and hope you make a mistake, you get the bigger boys better pitches to hit.
Well, that's why yesterday I think the Indians did a heck of a job pitching to only yield 4 runs in that game yesterday, because they were constantly out of the stretch, and Detroit was constantly putting the pressure on them.
They had an opportunity for 7 or 8.
Boy, Kinsler got a great jump, and he steals this one uncontested. So now 2nd and 3rd, and that's one of those plays where, okay, but now you're probably going to take the bat out of Miguel Cabrera's hands, even though you might not want to walk him to load the bases. But
yeah, but they don't care right here, because if you want to walk him, there's still nobody out, and you have to face Victor. But this guy, he's gonna find a way to put it in play.
He's already almost 2 for 2 today.
You're going to almost have to intentionally walk him if he wants to walk, because he'll expand his strike zone to drive him in.
2-2 the count.
That's what makes him such a dangerous hitter. I mean, you think you throw one in off the plate? We've seen him hit balls literally 3-4 inches inside by pulling his hands in. He will expand it by just going the other way to get that runner home. Great RBI man.
Carrasco in a tough spot. Tigers lead it 3-2. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out on the 2-2 pitch. He wouldn't expand, and it's a full count. This Sunday crowd sensing a key turning point in this game. Will Carrasco challenge him?
I wouldn't.
Or work around him and go after Martinez?
I wouldn't challenge him. It'll be 5-3 before you know it. You better go out and get on the same page.
Yeah.
There's no way I would challenge him. You don't, like you say, you have first base open. You got to make the perfect pitch or get him to chase your pitch. We've seen him too many times go out and base hit 2 runs when you have a chance to pitch around him.
And the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him with a changeup.
Excellent. Outside. I don't know if it was a strike.
5th strikeout of the game for Carrasco. None bigger than that one, though.
You know, when you look at the sequence in this at-bat, I mean, there you go, a little pitch down in the zone, and then he fouled one off. Gets him to swing at that change down and away. Tries to get him to bite on the slider. Didn't do it. It looks like a change, but he comes back with the changeup. And that was away, and it was an excellent spot. I think it was off the plate. He got him to swing at a pitch off the plate.
He wanted to drive in that run. He got him to expand the strike zone.
He just made a good pitch. Now you intentionally walk Victor Martinez, and you go for a double play with J.D. Martinez. So that's the way to do it. So far, so good for the situation, the way it's been presented to Carrasco. Now you just got to get a ground ball for the next guy.
Indians have already turned 2 double plays. J.D. Martinez hit into one in the 3rd, and that's what they'll try to do one more time. Get out of a big jam here in the 5th inning. Take a look at our in-game recap brought to you by Toyota. Tigers jumped on Carrasco in the 1st. Leadoff triple by Davis, then Ian Kinsler knocked him in. A sac fly made it 2-0. And Ryan Rayburn got the Indians on the board with an RBI double. He was thrown out on a bang-bang play at 3rd base, trying to stretch it to a triple. And Brandon Moss got the Indians within a run with that RBI hit. And for now, that is where we stand. Bases loaded, 1 out. J.D. Martinez the batter. You saw Scott Atchison warming in the bullpen. But Carrasco's only at, this will be pitch number 85.
Yeah.
Granted, he only made 60 his last time out.
I was going to say, coming off a start at 60, but he's fine. I don't see any reason, but they have made him work. He has had 1-2-3 inning, that coming back in the 4th. Other than that, they have applied the pressure in every inning, and they still have it on him right now. He's forced to make a good pitch.
Down low.
Well, now he's give me the ball. Let's go. I want to talk to you.
Well, a lot of off-speed pitches, but you have to mix it up when facing this lineup. As great a fastball as Carrasco has, he can't just sit out there and live on it against this team.
Well, no, Detroit's an excellent fastball hitting team, 48% off-speed pitches, but that changeup, and he's got to make a pitch here, and I'm thinking it's got to be a fastball.
The 2-0. Ripped fair. Davis scores. Kinsler scores. On his way to third is Victor Martinez. In the second with a 2-run double is J.D. Martinez.
He came in with a breaking ball. And Martinez got him. Yeah, it speeds up his bat a little bit. He's able to pull it down the line and keep it fair down the third baseline. He'll get his 13th and 14th RBI. He'll get his 5th double. And the off-speed pitch, I don't know if that was a changeup or a slider, but whatever it was, it goes down the left field line. So they pounce on him, make it a 5-3 ball game.
And with first base open, the Indians will intentionally walk Yoenis Cespedes to reload the bases. You know, there's a perfect example, though, when a good hitter gets into a hitter's count and he can be aggressive, the pitcher's margin for error really shrinks.
Yes, it does.
Substantially.
I wonder if he's going to go to the bullpen and get
Atchison.
Yeah. Second intentional walk in the inning.
Here comes Terry.
Yeah.
I think you answered your question.
Yeah, you got to get him out there. Carrasco really pitching out of trouble all day today. But he's going to leave still in trouble with the bases loaded and just 1 out.
Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen will be for Scott Atchison as Carrasco goes just 4 1/3 innings here today. He'll leave with the bases loaded, 1 out, and the Tribe trailing it now 5-2. Detroit, and the new pitcher for Cleveland is right-hander Scott Atchison. Comes into a tough spot, bases loaded, and 1 out.
Yeah, there's not any room for error, but as Terry Francona knows, this is one guy you can do that with because he doesn't give in to anybody.
He's given up 1 hit this year, 1 for 18.
Yeah, he's been very good. Well, he needs to get that ground ball and get a double play to get out of the inning.
Nick Castellanos is 0 for 2. He has struck out twice and takes a called strike. Good pitch. Off speed, and you can see Castellanos was just, he was tempted, but he couldn't pull the trigger. And it's 0-2. That's hard to believe that Castellanos has had that much trouble with bases loaded situations. The 0-2. Swing and a miss.
Boy,
kind of a half swing. He was really baffled.
You talk about coming out of the chute and ready to go. Breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball. See ya. Take a look at it on our Nissan pitch tracker. He didn't mess around. 3 pitches, another breaking ball out of the zone. Gets him to wave at it. And now a chance to get out of the inning. Nice job by Atch. 3 pitches.
And here is James McCann, 0 for 2. Reached on an error in the second, grounded to third in the fourth. You know, Atchison can get on some runs where he's practically unhittable. Last year, you may remember, from August 9th through the end of the year, he had a 159 earned run average. And that's when everybody's usually dog tired and your arms hanging down by your side and you don't have the same zip or command. He was at his best.
Yeah, he's been great for this ball club. The veteran, the elder statesman on the staff. Boy, he comes out and he gets right after it. He's a very aggressive guy when he gets into a ball game. Nice
Ground ball.
job.
Kipnis will throw out McCann. Atchison gets out of the bases loaded mess, but not before the Tigers pounce on Carrasco for 2 more, and they now lead it 5-2. Over 60 live events, 2 networks, 1 month. It's April in the OHIO. You can win a terrific sports experience by texting Tribe on STO to 733-733. Win lunch with Tribe skipper Terry Francona and 18 holes of golf with Jimmy Hamlin and Carling Nolan. Just text Tribe on STO to 733-733. Message and data rates may apply. Michael Brantley, Carlos Santana, Ryan Rayburn. Indians need to respond now, down 5-2. When the Tigers scored in the first, the Indians came right back and answered in the second. When the Tigers scored in the third. The Indians came right back and answered in the fourth. And now they've got to do it again. 2-0 to count for Brantley. They've retired him twice today, which is more than they did in the first 2 games of this series. Michael went 7 for 8 in the first 2. A couple of runs batted in and a couple of runs scored. And Lobstein, after falling behind 2-0, comes back to even the count. On the ground to first, Cabrera. 1 away. Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al.
And that's they will start the regularly scheduled game now after that game. I don't know how many minutes after. That was Friday night's contest. .310 start for today's game.
Popped him up on the infield. Kinsler. 2 down. Well, the Royals White Sox melee from Thursday's game resulting in a myriad of suspensions, including 5 each. So basically Sale and Samardzija will both miss a start for the White Sox, but Giordano Ventura and Edinson Volquez whacked with 7-game suspensions. I think everybody's appealing.
Yeah, everybody has appealed. The
commissioner's office will be busy.
Well, that's the second time for a couple of those guys.
The 1-0. Yeah, I think what some of those guys probably don't realize, because when you're young, you have to learn the hard way sometimes, but you start getting a reputation, and then anything that happens, there's probably an overreaction. So take Ventura, for example. If you get a reputation for being either a headhunter or a guy that's chirping, other teams are going to start looking for it, and umpires are going to be on red alert. So you're going to have to really mind your P's and Q's to change the perception.
He was supposed to pitch, I think, in game 2 of the series, but I think he's been bumped back to the Wednesday.
Against Cleveland?
Yes, against Cleveland.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Salazar and Ventura in the game Wednesday. Ryan Rayburn launches one to deep left field. Cespedes back on the track at the wall and makes the catch.
I thought he got it.
Indians go 1-2-3 on a nice running, leaping grab at the wall by Yoenis Cespedes, and it's still 5-2 Detroit. Lions on the short end of a 5-2 score. Bottom of the 6th. Jose Iglesias will lead it off. Batting out of the 9th spot in the order. Yan Gomes sitting next to Corey Kluber.
Yeah, I saw Juan today at the hotel, talked to him. He was in, and boy, he's chomping at the bit to get back. Imagine. You know, he says, man, he said he hates the road trip because he has to go to the ballpark by himself and rehab every day. He watches the games at night. He said he's sick of listening to you and I. You know, he just wants to get back in there and play, but he says he feels great. And, you know, he's only 2 weeks into it. And it seemed to me when he said 2 weeks, I said, that's it? Seems like it's been longer than that, but he is progressing well.
Well, that's good news. Start calling you Scoop Manning.
Well, you know, I hide every once in a while.
The 2-2 to right field, and Brandon Moss makes the catch. Let's go down to our actual in-game reporter, Andre Knott.
I was actually with Matt.
Yeah, we were together, pal.
But I'll tell you this, Tito said something else when he saw Yan Gomes. He goes, it's amazing how much of a change he's made with this team in such a short amount of time, that every person that saw him here today was happy to see him and just happy to have him with the team. And they said hopefully he gets back sooner than what they expected, but they're not going to rush it. But they were excited that he was willing to drive up here and be with the team today.
Well, that's good news. You know, and you want to. You always hope for the best when injuries like that occur.
Well, look who he's sitting next to. His boy Kluber. That doesn't surprise you there, does it? That's a great picture.
Those guys worked so well together a year ago, and they'll be teammates for years to come. The 0-2 fouled back. Davis tripled and scored to start the game, and then hit by a pitch last inning, and that started another rally in which the Tigers scored 2 more runs. Up the middle, Aviles with a great diving stop, but no chance to throw out the speedy Davis, who's got his second hit of the day.
Well, it was a great attempt by Aviles. He got to the baseball and realized with who was running, he's not going to have a chance to throw him out because it's right back up the middle. When you take 2 steps at shortstop and get on the ground, anybody with speed is going to beat it out. But he does a nice job to get to it and at least catch the ball as he hits his second hit. This guy's just so dangerous.
Ian Kinsler takes, it's a strike.
Boy, it seems like these guys come up every inning, doesn't it? You get to the top of that lineup, and here they go again. You get somebody on and trying to apply the pressure.
Kinsler finds himself in the hole 0-2. Well, that's turned out to be a steal, really, when you think Davis signed a 2-year deal with Detroit, $5 million a year. And it's not chump change, but these days, I'd have to say that's probably viewed as a bargain.
Well, when you figure the average salary is over $3 million in the major leagues.
Yeah, that's true. The average salary, yeah.
When everything's said and done, and they needed to get some speed into this lineup. He's been a nice addition to him. He fits into the lineup well.
And again, it's a good problem to have for a manager. In this case, Brad Ausmus, when you've got him and Ghost, they're both swinging the bat well. You got to find at bats for him.
And it was Kinsler that was leading off last year. So the change they made is they put him, Davis, and Ghost in that leadoff spot.
Deep right field. Moss back at the wall and goodbye. A 2-out, 2-run homer to right field for Miguel Cabrera. His 3rd homer of the year. His 3rd hit of the game, and it's 7-2 Tigers.
Well, and you look up there and you say, well, we can't make a mistake. Well, watch how he just hits this ball. It's a breaking ball. He stayed inside the baseball. It did have a lot of the plate, but still, for him to just shoot it out the other way as a pitcher, you got to shake your head and go, I don't know how to get this guy out. Because he has 15 hits now this year against the Indians. He makes it a 7-2 ball game, and that's why you walk him every time you get a chance.
Victor Martinez taking ball 1. RBI with a sac fly in the 1st. He singled in the 3rd. They intentionally walked him in the 5th.
So 3 of Cabrera's, that's his 3rd home run. You have 2, all 3 against the Indians, I believe. He had 2 in 1 game back there in Cleveland, and the 1 here.
Sometimes it only seems like he only hits home runs against the Indians. This year he has.
Well, you look at his career numbers against the Tribe and you can see why. Between him and this guy here, they're the middle part of the lineup, and they have had a lot of success in their careers. We're hitting over 355.
That's the first error for Omar Vizquel in 978 straight games.
Incognito. He's got the ears warm. He's got his sunglasses on.
Mark Zipchinski getting loose.
That's Cabrera's 38th home run in 136 games.
Well, we used to talk about those kind of numbers where Paul Konerko was concerned. He had that kind of home run success against the Indians. And when you play in the division and you stay in the division, then in this day and age, and with free agency guys move around, but Konerko, it looks like Cabrera is going to be here for a long time too. You have at least the opportunity to put up those kind of numbers against particular teams.
Well, it's nice if you have good years against teams in your division, because that's what it's all about. These are games you have to win.
That is a late call foul.
He had to get the correct arm angled out.
The Gibson hearing it from Omar Vizquel about the late call.
They're in a stretch right now where they're playing 17 consecutive games. This is game number 14. They're 4-9 going into today.
Yeah,
looking to go 4-10 in the Central, and they still have 3 more to go with Kansas City coming up tomorrow.
Martinez trying to shoot one to left. Brantley's there, makes the catch. We've played 6 in the Motor City. The Tigers lead at 7-2. Oakland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T UVerse, has more channels on the go than cable.
Detroit leading 7-2, entering the top half of the 7th inning. Kyle Lobstein still out there. He has walked 2, struck out 4, allowed just 4 hits in the ball game. It'll be Moss, Chisenhall, and Perez for the Indians. Another breakable. He has featured a nice little slider, fastball, changeup today. He's got the Indians hitters again. You know, they're caught in between. The Indians have scored in the 2nd and the 4th. But Detroit has just applied the pressure all game long to the Indians. 2-1 pitch, a swing and a miss by Moss. Brandon, a guy that had it rolling Friday night, a big night. Couple of home runs, 7 RBIs. Fastball right back up the middle. That'll be a base hit. Moss gets his 2nd straight single. Well, you can enjoy Indians baseball all summer long with the mini plan starting at just $109. Each plan includes 6 Friday, Saturday, or Sunday games available for 4 locations at Progressive Field. Just visit Indians.com. Chisenhall, the hitter now. He had an opportunity last time up when he had 1st and 3rd. Hit into a fielder's choice and couldn't get the runner home. It was actually Rayburn caught at 3rd base in a rundown. And Rayburn has been out at 3rd base 2 times this afternoon. Lobstein, and Chisenhall finds a hole to right field, so the Indians come back with a start. Back-to-back singles. Something rolling. Lobstein, 81 total pitches. When you look at Rayburn's afternoon, this is a big play. Back in the 2nd inning, thrown out at 3rd base. The Indians appealed this play. They already had a run in. They cut it to 2-1, and then here's the 2nd play with Chisenhall up the last time. He gets down. He's nailed at 3rd base. Well, a couple of times he's been down in the dirt and getting dirty over there, but he's been out both times. Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones coming out, pitching coach, to talk to Lobstein and just settle it down while they get their bullpen ready. They got a couple of guys throwing out there. Lefty, Hardy, and Nesbitt working out in the Tiger pen. So a lefty-righty combo. He's only had 82 pitches. 53 of those have been strikes. They're just slowing it down, get that bullpen ready. I would think he would be on for at least these next 2 hitters, Perez, and then you have the lefty Bourne.
Well, Lobstein's given the Tigers another consistent performance.
He has.
You know, their results on this current homestand are a little wacky. They've had 6 really good starts, and they've had some starts that have just been awful. They haven't had anything that's kind of been in between.
Yeah, they're ending a long homestand, a 10-day homestand.
Roberto Perez sends a high drive deep left center field, and Davis makes the catch. Which plays like that make you realize just how big this outfield is. Time for another Mazda game break. Here's Al. All right, thanks, Al. Here's Michael Bourne, 0 for 2 on the day. Slow chopper to 2nd. They get 1 there. Bourne beats it out. The Indians get a run home. It's now a 7-3 ball game as Moss scores. And by virtue of his hustle, Bourne picks up his second RBI on the year.
Well, he didn't hit that ball hard enough for them to turn it. They tried. By the time Iglesias got the ball back, Bourne beats it out. So makes it a 7-3 ball game. Second RBI in the year for Michael.
Now, I guess it stands to reason when you're hitting a $172 that there aren't a lot of positive stats under your name. But for Bourne, now 1 for 21 with a man on base.
Yeah, it's been a struggle for him.
Bounce to second. Kinsler throws out Kipnis, and the inning is over. The Indians pick up a run, but we've reached the 7th inning stretch with the Tribe down 7-3. Stretch time brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Joyce is going to be really thrilled that we're bringing this up, but 5 years ago, right here in this ballpark, he was at first base. Armando Galarraga working on a perfect game. This is the final out of the game. No, called safe. Replay showed he was out, clearly out. And the Tigers went bananas, and Jim Joyce felt awful after the game once he realized that he had missed the call.
Well, if they had replay in the game back then, it would have been a perfect game.
Yes.
It's that simple.
You have to wonder, too, Rick. I mean, it's not the only call. There are plenty of calls that are missed year in and year out, but
not for the final out of a perfect game.
But is that the kind of call that maybe was the tipping point for, hey, we need to get instant replay in the game?
I'm sure it didn't hurt, you know, because nobody felt worse than he did. It's the last thing you want to do. And you know what? I mean, everyone thinks like, okay, I'm in that situation. I'm the umpire. You anticipate he's going to be out, so you'd ring him up before you call him safe. I've heard a lot of people say. But boy, in the heat of the battle, he's looking, and at that point in time, he thought he was safe.
And you know what? We were here, and the next day when he came out, he brought the lineup card out. He was in tears because of just the response, I think, from everybody involved. including Galarraga.
Right. He might have been the classiest of the bunch.
Yeah.
I think his teammates were more upset about the situation than he was. Not that he wasn't, but
I think he was stunned, like we were.
He didn't show his emotions as much as other people did, and we were shocked.
Jim Joyce, a heck of an umpire. He's been a great umpire for a long time. Just as he said, and his quote was, "I kicked it. I just kicked it."
Yeah,
and it happens.
He's human. Everybody makes mistakes.
Two balls, two strikes for J.D. Martinez. Martinez says, "I don't like to run. I don't like to lift weights. I don't like working out. I just like to hit." And that's kind of the modern day ball player, isn't it? These guys could hit morning, noon, and night.
They hit and they hit and they hit. You're right. You'd like to see some of them spend as much time practicing defense as they do their hitting.
3-2.
But you better hit if you'd love to hit.
Mossy coming in, diving in, makes a terrific catch in right field for out number one. Boy, that's a nice play on a sinking liner in right field.
He made one Friday night too. He had a diving catch. This one is a sliding variety. He comes in and picks it up before it hits the ground. And that ball's sort of like sinking on him, going down into the turf. He makes a nice play, takes a hit away from J.D. Martinez.
And with one out, Yoenis Cespedes, the batter, 1 for 2 today.
Well, it's been the top part of the order that has done all the damage today. Davis has scored 3, Kinsler 2, and Cabrera 2.
Zepchinski's 1-1. Low and away. That's fouled off over by the Tiger dugout. Yeah, a swing and a miss. Cespedes goes down hacking, 2 away. Get inside the golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon, our PGA pro. We'll talk golf, give you tips to improve your game before you hit the links this spring. The golf zone tees off tonight at 8 on Sports Time Ohio. Up comes Nick Castellanos, who is 0 for 3 and has struck out 3 times. You know, Detroit, off to this 12-6 start this year. Started the day a game back at KC in the Central standings. But they've done all this without Justin Verlander, who's on the DL for the first time in his career.
Right.
And Brad Ausmus said, look, we're basically, he can't pick up a ball until all the swelling and all the fluid is gone from his tricep area. So, not like he's going to be rejoining them anytime soon, but it could be a big boost when he does return for an already very good team. Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stick around for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Alan Jensen will be standing by, ready to rock and roll. Angel Nesbitt coming in now for the Tigers after Kyle Lobstein went 7 innings and allowed 3 runs. Mike Aviles leading off and taking a called strike. Slider at the knees, just on the outside corner. That's a pitcher's pitch, and probably unhittable if you're in the batter's box. The 0-2 went right back out there, and that one's off the plate. Nesbitt thought he was going to get the strike call, but did not.
Well, he hit his target. That's why he thought, but McCann was sitting up off the plate. A good 0-2 pitch.
Went right back out there. That one well off the dish. And Nesbitt's 2-2 is popped back to the screen. Outside, he missed. He didn't go on the appeal. That's going to get out of play as well, down into the seats. Right back up the middle and backhanded by Kinsler, but he can't hold on to it. And Mike Aviles is aboard with a leadoff single here in the 8th.
Well, after down in the count 0-2, Aviles battles back. Kinsler again, that ball just didn't stick. He might have had a play over there if he had a jump and throw. If he catches it, couldn't hold on. He was ranging to his right.
Indians are down 4, so they need every base runner they can get. Bounce foul. Michael Brantley 0 for 3 today, after going 7 for 8 in the first 2 games of the series. This is the first time, though, Michael has been able to hit today with somebody on base. He always seems to raise his level of, call it concentration, intensity, when he's got runners in scoring position. 5 for 9 already this year.
Yeah, he thrives on that, hitting over 500 too with runners in scoring position. He's good. He was good at that last year.
Tigers have a left-hander in the bullpen if Nesbitt gets into trouble here. Way outside, 2 balls and a strike. That Blaine Hardy?
Yes. He was up throwing when Nesbitt was up as well. He's done. He's just watching.
2-1 to Brantley. Down low, 3 balls and a strike.
Well, it'll be interesting if Brantley can get on here. We've got the switch hitter up next. And then Rayburn, who's been swinging a very good bat.
The 3-1 pitch. And it's fouled. Maybe off the foot of Michael. Takes a little walk. Yep. Looked like right off the shin. Might have been either right on the top of the bat or just above it.
Yeah. He took a nice little stroll, and that's a case where the umpires don't mind. You go out there when you foul one off your shin or your foot. He goes to sweep the plate and give you a little more time.
String is out for Brantley. And a bouncing ball wide of Kinsler. It's into right field. A base hit. Aviles hits second. He's going for third. And the throw is offline. And Aviles in there safely. So Indians at the corners with nobody out.
They had that start last inning. First 2 guys aboard with nobody out. They were able to push one across. Jones is going to come out and have a talk to Nesbitt. Brantley hit this one right on the nose, got it under. I'll tell you what, Kinsler's had a lot of action over there today.
Yes, he has.
Both left and right. They've gotten a lot by him. The only one that didn't was Kipnis, where he made a great play to take a hit away from him.
Well, it's a similar situation that they had yesterday. Yesterday they were down 3 runs. Today they're down 4, but it was in the bottom of the 8th inning when they had their best opportunity to get back into the game, and here we are again in the 8th, 2 on, nobody out. Carlos Santana will be the batter. Ryan Rayburn is on deck, and then Brandon Moss follows him. Detroit has the bullpen busy. It's still just Blaine Hardy, the left-hander, though.
Well, that left-hander, they're waiting to get through this part of the lineup. If you're manager Terry Francona, do you pinch hit Murphy for Rayburn, who's on deck? I wouldn't think so, because Rayburn's swinging the bat pretty well. You got to leave him in there, let him take his hacks, and then you would be ready for Moss, I would think, should the inning continue to go on.
Yeah, the only thing you have to look at is that Rayburn has only faced one right-handed pitcher, one at bat against a righty this year.
Yeah, I don't care, though. You know, when you're seeing the ball well, it doesn't matter. He's had some really good swings. Just missed hitting one out of the ballpark his last time up.
It's a foul ball.
Good.
That would have been a double play.
Yeah, it would have been. He would have stepped right on the bag and threw home, and they would have had Aviles. You're right. Indians catch a break. It wasn't foul by much, because look at Cabrera. He reaches over into foul territory. Gibson's right on the call, and he says, no, no, no. Foul ball.
Well, Santana, normally patient hitter, is in an 0-2 hole. We've seen him turn these into full counts on numerous occasions. It's one of those big at-bats, though.
It really is, to keep this inning going and then bring them that much closer.
Keep the heat on Nesbitt.
You're down to 6 outs.
Checked. It was low. He did not go. Santana with a single, a walk, couple of runs scored today. Awaiting the 1-2 from Nesbitt. In the dirt, gets away,
That's
and
good
into scoring position goes Michael Brantley.
That's really good for Brantley. Ball in the dirt, he was heads up. He took off as soon as he saw the ball go in the dirt, which was the right thing to do because you always got to check the guy at third base. So it'll be a wild pitch. McCann tries to keep the ball in front of him, but can't do it, and Brantley will score easily. You can see he's off and running as soon as that pitch went into the dirt. So good heads-up play. I mean, you get these 2 runs in, you never know what can happen. There's nobody out. That's at least what you'd love to see. At least Santana get him over, get one of them in. If not, get a base hit and get them both in.
Nesbitt with the 2-2. And it's inside a full count. Once again, Santana goes from 0-2 to 3-2. And the payoff pitch. Broke his back, base hit right field. Avila scores, Brantley stops at third. And the Indians keep the pressure on. 3 straight hits to open the inning. A run is in. It's a 7-4 ball game, and the tying run is at the plate in Ryan Rayburn.
Well, he broke his bat on a 3-2 pitch, but he gets enough of it. Looked like a changeup to get it into right field. And you get your runner over, you get one in, and boy, that brings the tying run to the plate, and Rayburn is going to be the hitter.
I'm with you on this one. I really like giving Rayburn a chance to hit.
Yeah, he's had really good swings today. Why not? He's been one of your better hitters.
Even though he's only had 1 at bat against a right-hander so far this year. Swings at the first pitch and lifts it shallow right. J.D. Martinez racing in. He'll get there to make the catch, and everybody has to hold. 1 down.
He was fooled, Martinez was, on that swing. Thought it was going to be hit harder. And that is now going to do it because you've got the left-hander coming in for Brandon Moss and Chisenhall next. Something that they've seen all year long when it comes to facing bullpens. They're going to see their share of southpaws.
So we've got a timeout here in Detroit. Tying run at the plate for Cleveland here in the 8th inning. We'll be right back. Well, as we promised you earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. And before the ball game today, the Detroit Tigers paid tribute to the Negro Leagues, as they have all series long. And former Tiger Lou Whitaker was recognized as the 2015 African American Legacy Award recipient. What a tremendous player. Trammell and Whitaker for so many years, the Keystone combo here in Detroit.
Yes, they were both very good players. And Lou Whitaker back in town, and everybody excited to see him.
Somebody asked him today about the origin of the nickname Sweet Lou, and he said there's really no funny, clever story. It was just a minor league manager just started calling me that, and it stuck. Well, here you go. Brandon Moss again, just like yesterday. 8th inning, 1 out, 2 on, and the Indians down 3. It's the exact same scenario.
Except he has a 2-0 count today.
He hammers it. Deep right field. No, he got under it. J.D. Martinez going to make the catch on the front edge of the track. Tagging and scoring is Brantley. And the Indians are a run closer now at 7-5. Man, he just missed hitting that about 10 miles.
Just got under it. Boy, that would have tied the game, but he got a pitch to his liking. It's a breaking ball. He's coming back, or with that was a fast ball up. And I guarantee that pitcher's hurt. He skipped a beat. Okay, but they're only down 2. 7-5.
Still at the dish, and Lonnie Chisenhall now, who is 1 for 3 on the day. Called a strike. Outside corner. Lonnie lifts one to right, shallow. Martinez in. Makes the catch. Ends the inning. 3 straight hits open the frame. Tri gets 2 in. They trail it 7-5. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up after the ball game. Cody Allen coming on now here in the bottom of the 8th. Tigers have the 8, 9, and leadoff spots due up.
Trying to keep it right here. It's been a while since Allen has worked in a game. So he'll get an inning here in the bottom of the 8th.
James McCann reached on an error back in the second inning, grounded out twice since then.
Now in 5 days since the last time he has pitched.
Trying to bunt his way on. Chisenhall going to go to the bare hand, can't come up with it.
I'll tell you, that's really a pretty good play by McCann. You catch him back, and Chisenhall was playing back, and I'll tell you, he gets burned again on a bunt. Leadoff hitter. Let's check it out and see where he was playing. I don't see him in the picture, even with the bag. He was way deep. You're giving up the bunt hit right here, and he takes it. I'll tell you, that's a heads-up play by McCann to get the base runner going, even though they're up 2 runs. Now they can apply pressure. Take what they give you. He did.
Iglesias squares. Doesn't offer as the pitch went high.
Yeah, now they get down to the number 9 home. They can afford to go ahead. Let's bunt again. Try and get him over there for another insurance run we could use.
He squares, gets it down. Santana's only play is at first. And Kipnis snags the high throw for out number 1. In-game box score brought to you by Hyundai. Guys at the top, you pointed it out. Davis and Kinsler, they've been on, and they've been getting in. They've scored 5 of the Tigers' 7 runs.
Yeah, the top 2, and then you add Cabrera. He scored the other 2. So there you have. This is the part of the lineup that they've been busy today. Now they'll get a couple of shots at trying to add on here.
Cody Allen delivers down low with the fastball. Back to the screen, and it's 1-1. Another one right back. And out the ricochet, rolls all the way out to Cody. In the 9th, it will be Roberto Perez, Michael Bourne, Jason Kipnis due up for Cleveland. And right now, it's up to Cody Allen to try and hold the Tigers at bay. Already staring at a 2-run deficit. And the 1-2 to Davis. Breaking ball in the dirt.
Good job, Perez, picking that ball. He just slides with it. He's going to have to go outside that ball over in the other batter's box. And almost pins it up against his chest protector, but makes a nice play to keep the guy at second.
The 2-2. Breaking ball. He did not go, says Greg Gibson down at first. And now a full count, 3-2.
No, he did not offer. He was thinking about it, but did not. There's a really good look at it.
Allen, 3-2. Breaking ball up the middle into center field. McCann going to be waved around. And now he stops.
I'll tell you what, he came out of the box. I don't know if he did something to his leg there. He didn't run at all.
Talking about Davis?
Yeah, down the first baseline. He got a base hit and almost just like put it in neutral. Watch as he comes out of the box. And he stopped. I mean, he pretty much just limped on down to first base. He's got to be coming out of the game. Did not look good. Watch. That looks like a hammy. You know, because if he's running hard, he would like make the turn and go to second base. So they, in case they did try and throw it in, but they stopped McCann. It's a base hit. It's first and third now. He's done for the day.
Hey, he didn't react as though there was any sharp pain.
Maybe he felt something and just quit. The quad, look at him. I don't know if his leg was taped up or not before the game, and I think he just pointed to the front of his leg to Brad Ausmus. So Anthony Ghost will come into the game for him. But they're continuing to add. They're going to want to add on again. Keep the pressure on. And the same part of the lineup that has done the damage today is going to get another opportunity.
Ian Kinsler, 2 hits, an RBI, 2 runs scored. Ghost takes off on the first pitch, throw down. Ball kind of gets away, but McCann was planted at third base.
Yeah, you've got the catcher out there. He wasn't going to be aggressive and start to run, but boy, it doesn't take long, does it? Does it? You get rid of one speedster and you bring in another one. And he steals on the very first pitch. I think they thought he was not going to throw through. But they throw through, and actually the ball hits Ghost, and it trickles away from Kipnis. He was in front of the bag.
Infield now in.
This is the guy you have to get here, and Kinsler knows it.
Down low, 2-0.
Well, I mean, if you don't get him, then you got to deal with what's on deck with no room for error.
And again, these are those kind of counts that hitters froth at the mouth over.
Yeah, if you're patient enough and look for something in your zone, you shrink the strike zone to your liking. If it's not where you want it, you don't swing.
Oh, he comes with a little slider and dots the outside corner with a 2-1.
Good pitch, but he didn't sneeze at it. You know, that's why that's when you have a 2-0 count and you throw one of those pitches. The good hitters will just lay off of it. Because he was looking for something hard there, a fastball.
Again, the infield's in. 2-1 pitch. And the fastball low out of the zone. 3-1.
You can get very selective. You know who's on deck. You know the situations. Boy, these guys have been, the offense of the Tigers have been great against the Indians this year.
And the 3-1 pitch. That's low.
Now you got to deal with it.
And Cody's allowed a bunt single, a line drive single, and now he's walked the batter, and the bases are loaded with 1 out. Miguel Cabrera has already done damage today. He has singled twice. He's hit a 2-run homer. He's come across home plate a couple of times.
Well, he's getting ready to poke a hole in this one. Boy, you hope he hits it at one of your defenders. Double play ball, what you're looking for. 1 out, bases loaded again. They've done it a bit quite often in this game.
Swing and a miss. Tribe has turned a pair of double plays, but that seemed like a long time ago when that happened. Back-to-back innings, the Indians turned 2 in the second and in the third. Carrasco struck out Cabrera in the 5th inning with a couple of guys on base, and he did it with a 3-2 changeup. The 0-1. Breaking ball in the dirt. Cody Allen putting a lot of faith in Roberto Perez. Throwing that breaking ball, you're trying to make sure you make it nasty, but you can't afford to throw under the backstop here either.
You can't, but you can't afford to hang one to this guy. He hit the breaking ball for the home run in right field off Hatch. I mean, it had middle of the plate, but he hits it that way so easy.
The 1-1 pitch. Guy's batting almost 500 in the last 2 years against Cleveland, and almost 100 at bats.
I've watched it. I know he has. It doesn't surprise me. I've witnessed it.
And these Tiger fans have seen a lot of it too.
Surprised he hasn't called timeout yet. He wants to stay in the box and hit.
2-1 pitch. To right field. Moss over into the corner. Makes the catch straddling the line. Tagging and scoring is McCann, and it's an 8-5 Detroit lead as Cabrera picks up his third RBI of the day.
You see how long he waits on that ball to hit it. It was a breaking ball. It went down the line to the right field. He didn't even run out of the box. He just stayed up there. He didn't know if it was going to be fair or foul. It was a fair ball, but it was a fastball. Look at him. He's just walking, and it's going to be deep enough to get the run home. Moss catches it, gets it in, and he had a quick word with Victor Martinez before he went back to the dugout.
Anthony goes tagged at second and moved to third on that scoring play. Victor's driven in a run. He's singled. He was intentionally walked, and he's flied to left. Inside out, pops it up, foul ground, and Lonnie Chisenhall. An easy play to end the inning. Detroit tacks a run onto their lead, 8-5 as we go to the ninth. Let's recap our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians were looking for some right-handed production, while Ryan Rayburn had a couple of hits, drove in a run, but just not enough. And Miguel Cabrera, well, he did today what he's done his whole career. He's done damage against the Indians.
Well, what the Tigers have done as well is they've scored 8 runs in the game. 4 times out of the 6 games, they've scored 8 runs.
And he's done damage because they've got guys on base in front of him. It made it really hard for the Indians to really pitch around them.
Top of the lineup set it all up today. Table setters were very good.
Joaquin Soria. The Indians will put a pinch hitter up there for Roberto Perez. David Murphy will lead it off for Cleveland. Andrew Romine now in defensively at third. Ghost came on as a pinch runner for Davis when he had to leave the game. Murphy fouling it back 1-1. Davis hitting 4 straight games, 6 out of 14. And he rifles one to deep right field. Back goes J.D. Martinez. And it is going to leave the yard. David Murphy with a pinch hit homer to start the 9th for Cleveland. And it's an 8-6 ball game.
Yeah, how important was that add-on run there in the bottom of the 8th for the Tigers? The Indians come right back with one swing and make it a 2-run game. Again, Murphy got a fastball, inner part of the plate. 90 miles an hour, turned on it, got it into the seats for David, his 2nd homer.
And the 2nd time in his career he's pinch hit with a home run. Well, Michael Bourne picked up an RBI and a fielder's choice in the 7th inning. This one pretty deep left center field. Ghost on the move, and the center fielder tracks it down. Man, he can cover some ground out there. One away.
Now, let's see where he starts. You're playing him to left center field. By the time he makes this play, he's over in left field. You can see Cespedes running back to pack up.
And he wasn't even...
No, it wasn't sprinting.
Yeah.
You need center fielders that can cover ground in this ballpark. They have 2 that can do it. Boston Jackson, who they had here for a trade, he could run him down in this place. He's now out in Seattle.
Now the 0-2 offering. Up and away. Getting his 0 for 4 today. Had a 4-game hitting streak coming in. He's worked the count back to even at 2-2. He can get on base. You got the tying run at the plate. Mike Aviles is next. Brantley follows him. And a full count on a close pitch. Two is ball 4. So Soria making things interesting as the free pass brings the tying run to the plate now for the Tribe in the form of Mike Aviles with Michael Brantley on deck. Aviles 1 for 4 today. He singled back in the 8th. Call to strike. Let's see. I don't know.
Down off the plate. He takes all the way, but Joyce calls it a strike.
Popped up. Shallow left. Cespedes, a long run, and Iglesias somehow caught it.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, my goodness gracious. He literally just threw his glove at it, and it went in.
Are you kidding? I can't believe this one. He just made a swipe, and he realized Cespedes wasn't going to come get it, and he's probably saying something to him now. He took it. Right at the end, he goes out there. If an outfielder can get it, watch Cespedes. He gives up on it, and Iglesias just slaps his glove up, and it goes right in. It's only one guy that used to catch fly balls like that with his back to the infield. He's their first base coach. But that guy, I mean, boy, oh boy, if that falls, no telling.
Wow. So 2 down. Tribe's last hope is Michael Brantley. That'll go in the box score as a pop-up to the shortstop, but that's one of those game-changing type plays.
Yeah, that's when you put a star in your card and say, hey, check that out later.
There have been a number of those moments in this game today. Kipnis takes off. He'll go down to second uncontested. Well, Michael Brantley got a nice little book going on Soria. One ball, one strike. Indians have banged out 10 hits today. Tigers have 13. But Brantley trying to keep the heat on Soria here in the ninth. The 1-1. Outside corner, a called strike. And now Soria and the Tigers 1 strike away from another series victory over the Indians. Sorry, checks Aviles. The 1-2 to Brantley. Big chopper to short. Iglesias on the hop. Flips it over. Brantley is out. And the Tigers beat the Indians by a final score of 8-6. They swept them in Cleveland. They take 2 out of 3 here in Detroit. And they send the Indians home with a mark of 6-11 now on the year as the Tigers go to 13-6. Winning pitcher is Kyle Lobstein. He is now 2-1. Carlos Carrasco takes the loss as he goes to 2-2. And Soria picks up his 7th save on the year. Let's take a look at our Matt O'Brien play of the game. J.D. Martinez roped one down the left field line, scoring a couple of runs. Tigers scored 2 in the first, 1 in the third, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, 1 in the 8th. They didn't have the big inning, but they kept the pressure on all day long.
Yes, they did.
We'll have some final thoughts from the Motor City when we wrap it up right after this.